Test, test, test. Okay. Here's what I've realized. These conversations, the real ones, they're happening less and less. The moments when someone actually drops their guard, when they tell you what's really going on instead of the polished version, those used to happen more naturally. Grabbing coffee and walking around the block, or just running into someone and having an actual conversation. They're getting lost. I'm Ken Roden, and this is What We Don't Say. You might be wondering why I'm doing this. It all started because I'm in school, focused on how work is changing. And I kept interviewing these incredible leaders, people doing amazing things. But when I'd ask them how they got there, their stories were real. They weren't talking about a big promotion or a win or launching something. But none of this was showing up anywhere. You're probably listening right now because you're curious about those real stories. Or maybe you're just tired of feeling like you're missing part of what's actually happening. You know, the stuff that's not making it onto LinkedIn, the things that aren't TikTok ready, the less than perfect, the hard, the thoughtful, sometimes messy, the reality of how careers and life actually happen. So I wanted to create a space for those conversations, the ones that usually don't make it past the people who are actually in the room. When you hear someone's real story, when they share what's actually happened, it does something to you. It makes you feel like you want to do something. So each episode, I'm highlighting a charity that connects to what we're talking about. We're talking about these things because they're real life, and real life is getting involved. It's action. It's getting involved in your community, doing something. And when these conversations hit you, and I think they will, you'll have somewhere to put that energy. Back to why I started this podcast. I wanted to cut through the noise. Now, there are plenty of great career advice podcasts, but when I was looking, I wasn't finding real operators, people actually doing the work, talking honestly about how they got somewhere and how they're thinking about what's next. So I appreciate you coming along this journey with me. With that, our guest today is Shana Glenzer. She's currently the VP of Marketing at Oleria and has been a fixture in DC's tech scene for over 2 decades. Now, I worked with Shana about 15 years ago at a company called Blackboard, and it's incredible to see what she's done and how she's grown into such an inspiring leader, which is exactly what makes her story so valuable. She's been a national TV commentator and is a mom of 3 boys, including one with cerebral palsy, which she has said shaped her approach to leadership in ways you probably wouldn't expect. Shana and I get the chance to talk about 3 things that I think will really resonate with you. Why she tells people not to think about careers in a linear progression, what it really looks like to bounce back from job loss and rebuilding your confidence, and how an unexpected medical situation with her family completely shifted her approach to leadership. Speaking of that, cerebral palsy affects over 750,000 children and adults in America. That's why this week, our featured nonprofit is United Cerebral Palsy. They advocate for and provide essential services for families affected by cerebral palsy. I've personally made a donation myself, and there's a link in the show notes if you'd like to join me in supporting their incredible work. All right, so let's settle in and let's hear some of what we don't say. Shana Glenzer, how are you?
Ken Roden. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me today.
So happy to be here. I love this reconnection and this opportunity to talk to some folks through your podcast.
To start us off, for folks who might not know you, can you tell us your story?
One of the things to know about me, setting me up for a lot of recovery from embarrassment in college and early in my career, is that I was my high school mascot. I was the bulldog for my high school. I think there was a lot of things that teaches you about resilience and recovery throughout your career. When I first came to DC, right, the first stage of my career was all about ed tech. And so started a career in tech, landed some great jobs in ed tech. One of those is company Smart Thinking, my first job ever. And then at Blackboard. Blackboard was a really pivotal time, 7 years in my career, where I got to explore a lot around what I liked and what I was good at and what I wasn't so good at and didn't enjoy in my career. And then on to a few different startups. In my career, I went from ed tech to real estate, sustainability tech, and then to CRM for advocacy, and then a really exciting scale-up company called Diligent. A lot of pivotal times at that point in my career in Diligent, and then on to where I am now, which is Oleria, and that is an identity security company.
Wow.
And then somewhere in there, the big scheme of my career, I also had big life moments. So I got married early in 06. 20 years coming up. And then we had kids in 2016, and that is one of the moments we'll talk about later in my career, later in this podcast, because we started building a family, and it wasn't exactly maybe how we had the family that we had in our minds when we were first married and thinking about the family we'd build, but it's amazing, beautiful family. Had twins in 2016, and then had our third boy in 2018. We have a house of young boys and 2 bunny rabbits when we knew we were having our third kid, and we moved out to McLean, Virginia, and that's where we reside today. And I work from home, which is weird for me because you know how social I was.
Looking back at your path, what would the 21 Shana be most shocked to learn where you ended up now?
The 21-year-old me would be shocked to know that I had already had the CMO title. I never thought if you told me at 21 that I would have gotten a chance for a couple of years to be on national TV. I think that would also be something that I developed fashion sense.
This is the funniest thing, Shana. You're not going to know that I'm about to do this to you, but many years after I met you, I Googled work professional dress and a picture of you came up because you had done a photo shoot. And I used it in a training for a team about how to dress professionally.
First of all, I need to see this training and this photo, but wow, I'm loving that. Also, the internet can be a kind of a scary place on what you find there about people.
Really like how you broke down your career and personal journey because they were probably different phases for you. What do you think stayed consistent for you throughout all of that?
I love learning from people. I think respect for people, regardless if it's the person that's serving my meal at a restaurant I go to or like my CEO, but just like a general, like just profound, like gratitude for all the things I've gotten, and also respect for people around me, and that has always been part of me. And now it's for the kids that I hang out with and raise, and parents that I'm interacting with, and certainly being in DC, there's can be a lot of conflict from time to time, but just having that consistent respect and trust for people, as respect for people, and trying to like operate on a level of trust is something that I think has been consistent. I hope people would say it was consistent about me because I feel like I try to prioritize that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Is there a time in your life where that was really happening for you at work where you were able to kind of lean into that and thrive?
Well, I think it was 4 years into my career. And I knew that I was at a startup when I started. Career was small, it was 20 people. And I just knew that I wanted to work for a bigger company, and eventually wanted to get into marketing. Studied marketing, ended up going and being like a trainer and a customer sales rep, which was amazing. I got to travel the US and places. And so I ended up going literally directly across the street to Blackboard. I think I was in 6 different jobs when I was at Blackboard over an 8-year period. And so the work that I did and the trust that I put in the company and its leaders was reflected back to me with a lot of different opportunity. So I think that was the one where just like being really engaged with different people and making great friendships that I hold to this day so dear was really important. And then I think the second one, and we'll get more to this in a second, where I went a level deeper in my kind of respect for people, and a really hard time getting pregnant. Finally got pregnant. We're having these twins, and we learned that the twins had a very rare condition called TTTS. They were identical twins, and they were sharing a blood flow, and one was taking more blood than the other one. And if we didn't intervene with some sort of surgeries, we would lose one of the twins. It was a very long pregnancy with a lot of surgeries. Great folks at Hopkins, and then delivered the twins. After their extended stay in the NICU, we were taking them home around week 6, and we learned that my son Gabriel, one of the twins, Gabriel and Calvin, that Gabriel had brain damage, and we didn't know how extensive, what it was going to mean, but it was substantial. And I personally struggled and tried to figure out, okay, our life is not going to look what we thought it was going to look like when I was picturing a family. But how do I embrace the wonderful life that we've got, and know that life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. Yeah. And then also just have a respect for people. So many people are struggling with such heavy personal things in their lives that you never know who's going through something at that moment. And I think it just gave me an even greater level of compassion. Here's what's going on right now. Here's what we're struggling with. Here's what's great. Here's why if I'm at appointments every other week, this is what's going on. And so that is my son, our family has taught me a lot about that, really knowing that there's a lot going on that I'm not aware of and that I need to be thoughtful about that.
I think a lot of our listeners can relate to what you shared. You just said something really beautiful, that life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. And the definition of perfect, there's a lot of energy behind presenting yourself a certain, or us presenting ourselves a certain way. It doesn't have to be like that to be a really wonderful life. And that's beautiful. So I want to talk about Blackboard a little bit. So we work together at Blackboard, but I think one of the things that was really unique about Blackboard is the connections and community that came from it. Now that you're in senior leadership, you experienced the community as a beginning of your career, and now you have the opportunity to build it. How do you think about making that jump, being responsible for sparking that community and the culture that's so important at companies the size you're at?
It's a great question. And it's one that candidly is a little harder not being in person with my team. So my team or the company broadly is based in Bellevue, Washington. As I mentioned earlier, I am in McLean, Virginia. For those of you who know maps well, that is very far apart, the entire country. And so I try to get out in person at least once a month with the team out there. Certainly you get to see each other every day on like Google Meet, but which is so hard for me to learn how to use. But anyway, so now I'm a Meet Pro and I get to see the team there, but I think a couple of things. One, just making myself available to people and doing it in different modes. Like I'll call I do a lot of phone calls. Like I feel like to set only Zoom meetings, it sets some sort of like weird boundary that we didn't have when I was younger in my career. And so I just, I do a lot of informal phone calls, a lot of texting, and like just connecting with people. No one calls anymore. Like folks that are on my team that are young, they're like, why are you calling? Is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm just calling to catch up. They're like, hi. Anyway, but, and then when I go out to Seattle, I try to like always make time not only for my team, but we've got the tech team, large tech developers and designers and product managers, but try to like get in, like at least walk that part of the floor. We're about to move and be a little tighter in, which would be nice, but really trying to like purposely be seen and engage with people and let them know that, yeah, I'm in meetings all freaking day. That's part of what my career is now, but my days look like now, but I'm here, I'm available, I'm walking around, I'm in the kitchen. If you like sitting down to eat, if you guys want to hang out, like, you know where to find me. And I think it's hard to recapture what we had at Blackboard. It sounds like a cop out, but it was just a unique energy and kind of people that were in that company and that attracted other amazing talent. I certainly try to, just like the leaders there made themselves available, like, hey, you want to go to lunch or want to go to coffee, and I'm happy to tell you how I got here and invest in you and give you any insights I can. I try to do that. I'm a college intern, so that's kind of fun to just to be able to sort of help her navigate even the kind of what to let go of and what to hold on to in college. So
yeah, can you think of a time when like you were switching jobs or you were in some sort of transition and you're like, what the heck is going on?
I have a very winding journey in my career. I mean, literally, you can't, if you would at the time be like, you're here, you're in this kind of role, and now you're over here in marketing, but now you're going back here, over here in sales, and now you're back in marketing, and then it is a very winding journey. It's not linear. I think one of the things that, and I'll share with you a moment, but one of the things when I talk to people that are coming out of college and looking for their first job, they're all like, well, I want this kind of career eventually, so I need this job now, and then I'm going to go to this job, and I'm going to go, and I caution them, we'll get to this in a second, but I caution them not to think linearly about your journey, or else the experiences that you'll get will be limited in a way that I have a expansive of a knowledge base to work from, but just not having the job. So when I was at Blackboard, I joined as a customer success representative, and I had the opportunity so I knew I wanted to be in marketing. So how do I get there? Good question. I just literally made up some sort of title for myself to be like marketing liaison for sales or something. I don't even know. And dear Jason Penshaw, who was there at the time, was put up with me just constantly volunteering and raising my hand and being like, I'm the marketing liaison from sales. I'm happy to help with this or this or that. And then when they opened up a marketing job, I'm like, well, it makes great sense. I've been doing this stuff, I know. ridiculous. So I jumped into marketing from my customer success job. That was what I was trained and that was what I was doing. And then while I was in marketing a couple of years at Blackboard, I was told by one of the people that I really, both two people that I really admired in the C-suite, that while you don't have kids and you have more flexibility, you should really go into sales so that you understand what it's like to try to get a deal done. So I said, I trust you people, so sure, I'll go do sales. I think that the big thing that you asked me a question, I'm not directly answering it, but the biggest question for me go into sales, how long do I stay in sales? When am I going to know? What do I? And so I had the ability to take the zag into, I say carrying a bag, but my VP of sales currently, bless him, is like, people ever say carrying a bag are people that were not actually like lifelong salespeople, but whatever. So I got to carry a bag. I had a big quota, and figure out what it was like to build my own pipeline, make travel all around states. And what I learned when I look back at that sales opportunity, and I eventually just came to a natural transition point where I worked for the mobile organization where I got to spend a lot of time with you, and I hit my number and I was able to buy a house. And I was like, you know what? I do not like sales, or I do not like I don't forget the pain of labor. I had to drive hundreds of hours across the state of Virginia. Love the people I got to meet, but was it worth it? Yes, but also I don't want to do that again. Yeah. So I think looking back, I now realize that with that empathy that I have learned from being a customer success representative and from having 3 years in sales with a quota, one where I did not hit my number by a long shot because we shifted the way we sold. I have a better perspective of what reps care about and need to get a deal closed than oh, here's a fancy template in Salesforce that I made for you to put your proposal in. They're like, dude, I'm pulling over along the side of the road to get this proposal out. I don't care whether it's in the pretty designed template that you made or not. I need to get them to sign this thing so I can close this deal so I can make money and feed my family or whatever. So yeah. That's a little bit of what, when I look back, that empathy helps me to really closely connect with my VP of sales in a way that I couldn't if I didn't have that experience.
Yeah. Could you go back to maybe that time and think about what were you telling yourself? Was it self-doubt? Was it, I can get through this? What was the mindset to get through it?
I was meeting all these partners that I'd heard of great things about Discovery Education, a bunch of other companies, and I didn't really know people over there, but I met all these amazing other sales reps and partners and people. Yeah. We all traveled to the same conferences across North Carolina, and oh, we're at the regional shindig, or we're doing the shag with the same K-12 administrators that we did this time 6 months ago. And so I made a lot. It was fun to just figure that out. The second year, when I had a quota and a new product to sell that was not selling, despite across all the reps, so it was not just me. That was a hard year, and there was a lot of self-doubt. Do I not I had a really successful year, and now I'm having this crap year. I'm not even close. I'm at 20% of my quota after exceeding last year. Is it something I'm doing different? What? And there was some self-doubt there, but by the end of the year, because I had such close colleagues where we could all understand okay, this isn't working, we need to shift it back, I sort of just embraced the crap. And I joke about it, but I literally the last month of the kept building my relationships, but the last month of the year when I knew I wasn't going to hit, I definitely went to see a movie in the middle of the day, Fast Five, because I was you know what, I'm going to get a different job a different role next year. We already talked about it. I know I'm going to be set up differently, different territory, selling a different thing. I'm not going to have this kind of time. Should go bomb with Vin Diesel or whoever was in Fast Five. So I kind of embraced the suck at the very end, and then worked with the leadership team to figure out how we were going to make it successful again, and we did. And the next year, I was able to do really well, hit my number, and again meet a lot of wonderful people.
Yeah. So if I were to just kind of think about what you just talked about, you're breadth in your career, feel free to zigzag, build relationships, and when in doubt, go see a movie.
Totally. During the workday. I think that might be the crucial one.
But one of the things that I find when I'm talking to people right now is there's a lot of worry about the future. What's work going to look like? Is AI going to replace all of our jobs, or is AI just going to disrupt everything? What's happening with your customers? You're seeing what's happening with your organization. What's kind of your take on AI and how it might change work, if it's something, how should people think about it?
And the kind of rise and wave of agentic AI is and the way that agents talk to agents is very different than way people were managing identity and cybersecurity before, when humans were talking to humans or even machines were talking to machines. Is just this whole like craziness that teams are having, that we're working with, are having to figure out how to manage. And so we've done some really exciting work there on like how we think about maturity and identity maturity, even with these agents coming in, and how you can map your progress. So that's been, we talk about AI a lot. I think net, I think that AI is, I am confident and also excited about AI's promise for us as a across the globe, as a people. Yes, there'll be a lot more increased risk as well. But I think about my son Gabriel, who has cerebral palsy, for example, like, and kids, maybe not Gabe's lifetime, but kids coming up after Gabe, like he can't talk, or he can't walk, and he makes oohs and ahs, and he knows who we are. He's got the best smile that you'll ever see in your whole life, and the biggest frown. But I think about the potential of just advancing medicine and technology in a way that we haven't, that's exponential for benefiting humankind. Also, it is also been created personally and in marketing, as like a wild transformation, but it is also really scary. There are people that are losing their, you've seen all the cuts at big companies, some Seattle-based companies, other that are making massive cuts to their workforce because of AI. So I certainly have far from all the answers, but I think that I'm excited about the possibility for and what's going to happen for humankind for when it comes to AI. I think that it is causing a really interesting transformation in GTM that I'm excited to be a part of. But I also know there's just a heck of a lot more to figure out and help help people that are being displaced by AI to retool and get the new skills, to upskill and reskill people into different places where AI can't solve problems that like it can in tech.
I agree with you. It's almost boundaryless, right? It might be able to do a lot of things to help us professionally or with our real lives. I think you bring up a good point. I do think it's a little scary, though. I find the security aspect to be really fascinating that you just brought up.
Yeah, and also is a whole new sort of attack vector that we certainly that's where we're trying to help companies at Oleria, help companies, lock it down, because as you can imagine, if AI drones get hacked, or there's just a lot of there's a lot of potential downside that we need to be thinking about and mitigating with all of the amazing transformation.
I want to pop back to something we've hit on a few different times, but you said, when you were at Blackboard, leadership team said, before you have kids, get on the road. Now you have kids, you're a mom, and you and your husband both work. How do you think about balancing and living a career?
I will openly admit, I suck at making friends right now and having a life. I think it's really funny. We have a dear mutual friend out in Seattle, and since I've been going back out to Seattle so frequently, as I mentioned, about once a month, I actually think that my friend in Seattle might be one of my closest friends, in addition to my best friend from high school I still keep in touch with, who's in Pennsylvania and has twin boys just like me. It's something I need to prioritize and figure out, is my friendships. But when it comes to balance in general, I'm sure that you have heard this before, because it's kind of cliche, but it's also very helpful for visual people like me, which is the whole you're juggling a bunch of balls. Some of them are glass, some of them are rubber. You got to know which ones to drop when, and which ones you can't drop. And so that that has always actually visually helped me. I'm okay, this week, here are all the things I'm juggling. I cannot forget to file the freaking appeal to Medicaid because they thought that Gabe was 4 years old and declined something, and I have a limited time period to file that. That is a glass ball. I cannot drop that this week. I have to do that. Am I going to get the webinar in January scheduled? Maybe not. So I'm just the balance, that juggling. But I also think that there was something someone said to me once, and I cannot remember who said it to me, but it was a woman that had a very successful career, and she sort of said this idea of balance is is fake.
Yeah.
And if you're really trying, when you are at work, if there's a way that you can in your life, we have an amazing nanny. I have an amazing husband who is, quite frankly, much better with the kids, and especially connected to Gabe in ways that I'm not, and also, by the way, cooks and makes all the medicines. So amazing support system. You can be a really amazing leader at work when you're at work. And you can be a really amazing mom to your kids when you're with them, like after school and in the evenings. But if you try to be both at all times, you're going to suck at both of
Yeah.
them. And so just sort of knowing this like mom compartmentalizing where like, yes, I'm available if my kids need me when I'm at work and doing work. And if there's an emergency or if there's something that needs me, of course, I'll drop everything. But I really am focused when I'm at work. And like, this may not sit well with some women, but like, I mean, I maybe talk to my kids when I'm gone. Like if I travel for work for Seattle, like I'm talking to the kids maybe once or twice, but our schedules between the time zones or whatever, like they don't fit. And so like, it's disruptive for them and disruptive for me. Like we can't figure it out. And so they know I love them. And when I get home, I'm going to spend all weekend with them, like riding bikes and doing whatever, but I am focused when I am out there because that's where I need to be and what I want to be excelling at that moment.
Yeah. And you're being really honest about something that's hard to talk about sometimes is like, you can't be everywhere all at once. And even if you want to be, like in your example, the 3-hour difference between DC and Seattle just isn't conducive to a kid's schedule sometimes. So like, you just can't, like, it's just the reality. It was a really good example of like being realistic about things.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And having unrealistic expectations of yourself is like the easiest way to get mad at yourself and get disappointed in yourself and then land in like a really unhappy mental place
Yeah.
that doesn't let you thrive in any of the situations. And so whether that's comparing yourself to someone else or comparing yourself to an expectation that you set for yourself that's just you're not going to meet, it's unhealthy. And I try to avoid it when I can. Of course, I always fail. Better every day is another thing I always tell my team. And like I'm gonna mess up a bunch, but if I can just be better at this one thing, like than I was yesterday, like better every day, then that's what we want to try to do.
Yeah. You're in a visible role, given you've been in several visible roles. You've been on TV. You've been a model for dress attire, apparently. But
So disturbing.
the world's different now. Like, being in these senior roles, having a role where you're on TV, sharing your insights and perspective. Like, how do you keep from not feeling overwhelmed by what other people think, especially now with like social and LinkedIn having your professional resume out there and they're looking for like, what's the next thing that you're going to do? Like, how do you think about managing that?
I think one of the things, I'm not really on Facebook. I'm on Facebook when I like want to buy something from like, or when I want to give something away or get something for free from buy nothing.
Yeah.
I did that was just a very nasty place for me and it did not put me in a good mental position. So I stopped. But I think a couple of things. One thing that gave me the best perspective and the most like resilience recently was one of my big moments was I lost my job at Diligent. I was let go after I had become interim CMO. We thought it was going to be like a 3-month thing. It ended up being like a 9.5-month interim CMO position. So of course, during that time, a lot of other people started doing all the things that I was doing in my original job. So by the time I went back to my original job, I'm like, oh, they've got it covered. And tried to make it work and it just didn't work. And so going through that process of losing your job and then going through all those interviews and everybody wants you to be like, well, you don't have enough demand experience or you don't have this experience or you don't have like, that is one of the things that is like the hardest, like you talk about people judging you and like feeling like, inadequate. Oh my gosh. Like that was, but also built so much resilience. I saw a counselor during that time because I just like, how do I navigate like feeling like I know I need to get a new job. I know I can do the jobs, but convincing someone I can do the jobs is really hard.
Wow.
And so I saw somebody to help me kind of navigate through my internal thoughts. I saw somebody about my speaking patterns, which I'm still not excellent at, but were causing a lot of doubt about, wasn't an expert in the areas that I wanted to be an expert in. This is a whole separate kind of podcast, but I have an amazing speaking coach that my CEO's worked with, and he donated his time to work with me during my transition. So I had to do a lot of like investment in like building my confidence and knowing how to like box up the negative thoughts and create a visual, which is for me, like putting them in a box with a ribbon and like stuffing them under a bed, and moving on. And so there's there's a lot of work that goes into it, but I also think when you have these experiences that build resilience, like trying to find a new job, or those are opportunities to realize that you rock at, and to know what you're good at, to be able to say I'm good at that thing, and to make new relationships. And that, I get back to all about people and relationships. I found my new job because of a relationship, and I just think that those connections are invaluable.
Yeah, what you're saying reminds me of a quote that's like, don't try to win over the people that don't like you. Try to make your fans love you more. And so just keep doing the things that you are doing and just do them better than try to, do something that's not you.
Be someone
Or,
else.
yeah. I really appreciate how honest you are about that, because I don't think we talk enough about, especially when you're in a go-to-market role, or but actually any role right now, where they're like, well, you don't have enough of this experience, or you haven't led this type of team through this scenario. And you're like, but I can do it. But
And by the way, Ken, as you know, like, who the heck cares? Because AI has changed every freaking thing that we know about how
yeah,
people buy anything. Well,
yeah,
maybe not, maybe like HVAC people, whatever, but like certainly B2B
yeah,
sales and marketing is so freaking different. So who cares if I didn't lead a demand team like 10 years ago? Like, that, like, they're good thing actually, because if I tried to do the thing that was working 10 years ago, I guarantee you I'd sink this ship.
yes.
So I just think like you have to kind of educate people along the way as well, which you do such a good job of, but it sometimes can be hard if you feel like you're lacking confidence.
Yeah. Hey, really fast, I want to ask you about the mascot thing, and then I've got my 3 quick fire questions. But is there anything that you wanted to dive into that we haven't talked about?
We don't have to talk about the mascot thing. I'll
Oh,
try to
okay.
give you a picture. I'll send you a picture though, so that
Okay.
you can see. But yeah, just that's another resilience building exercise.
Yeah.
If you have little children punching you in the stomach and taunting you, and you have to wear a big, like, you look like a 300-pound bulldog, like,
Yeah.
it's resilience building. But no, I think we hit on. I mean, there's so I've had, my CEO often says that, something around, like, and I'm gonna mess it up a little bit, but he often, when he talks about his career, because he had a really massively successful career in security, he's a chief trust officer at Salesforce for a long time. He talks about how, like, luck plays a larger role in our careers than any of us would like to admit, and I think that is right with me.
Yeah.
As does the generosity of the people that you engage with along the way, and so I think those are just two things that stick with me.
I've heard this concept of fortune over luck, that like
Interesting.
luck is something that can just happen. You find a penny on the ground and that is lucky. Fortune is luck combined with intentionality. So you have put yourself in the position for luck to take you somewhere. And I think you're right. To some extent, we fall into things in the right room at the right time. And then I think there's sometimes where you're like, if I hadn't have even messed up that thing to be in this position, I might not have never ended up where I am right now. And it's a little bit of a good reminder to just keep doing what you want to be doing, because it
Yes.
might get you somewhere.
And try to enjoy yourself along the way, because
Yeah.
gotta.
Hey, so to wrap us up, I want to ask you 3 questions that I ask everyone on Punch Above Your Weight. The idea is really to give just your quick hits on 3 perspectives. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
What's advice that you would give someone who just graduated?
About the path to where they want to be, that they, when they come out, especially in the challenging job market that we are with AI transforming everything, that they to keep an open mind, even if they have their sights set on a certain career. And sometimes what helps there is to focus on something specific, but yet broad, getting into a company that you love, or that you want to get into marketing. So you know, you just have to take the job that you can get at something that helps you to survive, makes enough money to survive, and then you look at that job as a chance to learn and maybe get super close to a customer that you won't have when you're later in your career. Well, that could be wildly different things depending on what they are at age 30. I think we talked about, again, we touched on it earlier, but at age 30, I had more flexibility in my life. I wanted to have a family, but didn't have one yet. And so for me, that was a time to take a risk. So I would say if you're in your 30, you have some more flexibility, you've been thinking about something, do it. Like, take that risk. Maybe it's cultivating a new set of skills, building a new skill set. And I think the other thing that I would say, and I'm talking to some folks right now that are working through this, especially in the tech in tech careers, is that being a really skilled individual contributor can be incredibly valuable, like earnings wise, but also with respect at a company. You don't always have to manage a large team of people to be respected and to earn a good income, and to just keep that in mind. Because I think for so long we always thought like, I got to go to the next thing, and then I got to go in management. I got to go manage people, and
Yeah.
it's just not. It's not the case, and don't be fooled into that.
Yeah. Very well said. The last one is, what advice would you give to someone who's in a career transition right now?
From your job, I would say you're in really good company. So I didn't know that when I think it's like, maybe it's like a raw comparison, but it's much like when we were like trying to get pregnant and like have kids, and like it was really hard. And I just like, no one talked about it. And then all of a sudden I started talking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is hard for a lot of people. And then same thing, like I lost my job, like I was embarrassed, and I started talking to people, and I'm like, oh, there are other executive level folks that, like, a lot of them that have lost their jobs. Like, I'm in good company. So I think one is just to embrace where you are in whatever journey you're on, and then I would say to really look for connections across I made a spreadsheet of my connections from across my career that I just wanted to revive, whether I felt like it was a direct path to a new job or a change in job or not. And I think that was one of the most fulfilling my last couple of years. And that was a really fulfilling time for me to reconnect. And so I really leaned into taking the time and the transition to strengthen connections that have maybe gotten weaker over the past couple of years.
Yeah. One of the threads that's really consistent is your value of relationships, and how, they seem to align with your values, but they also seem to give you energy.
Ultimately, they give me connections that gets me to the next thing, which,
Yeah.
I think you and I both maybe have had this experience where I wasn't considering consulting, and then someone told me, hey, will you consult for a little bit? And then all of a sudden, like 3 weeks later, a consulting thing turned to a full-time job.
Yeah.
And so, but it was because I trusted people that I had long-term relationships with, and that I got where I was. So I'm so thankful. So thank you to everybody in my life and career that has got me here. It's really been a ride.
Yeah. Well, Shana, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate just how real you were on sharing your experience and how you got somewhere, and really authentic. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And when I figure out what I want to do when I grow up, I will certainly let you and your listeners know. But for now, I look forward to being along the ride with many of them.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Ken.